What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's Motorfest video, I do want to take a look at the Chevrolet Camaro Z28 Hoonigan Ed. This car was indeed going to be in the last summit that everybody was going crazy for, and to be honest, I can definitely see why. Like, this car looks absolutely insane. For one thing, I have to admit, I really do love like a midnight dark purple like this on a vehicle. You can also see like the gold parts going around it, and of course that really nice looking stripe on the vehicle as well. And this thing is also going to have a crazy looking wide body kit and custom rims, which, do not worry, the rims are not going to be a really annoying chrome looking color. They are going to have a really nice like matte black finish to them and like the gold outline on them. And on top of that, you also see the caliper is going to be the exact same gold type of colors around like the top piece on the Hoonigan there. And you can also see on the Z on the side of the Z28. I really do think they honestly did an insanely good job with the way this car does look. And my goodness, I absolutely love the way the wide body kit on this vehicle is. I really have to admit, guys, they really did kill the overall design of this Summit vehicle. Now, there is one thing I did want to point out, though, that I'm sure many players might be wondering. Well, Block, why would I grind for this when I can make the regular Z28 look just like this one? There probably wasn't a point of actually going after that Summit car because, well, the other car you can basically match the entire thing. So after that, I did want to immediately check the regular Z28 to really see if that car can look exactly like this one. And the first thing I did discover here is going to be pretty dang interesting. So the first thing I am going to be is I am on Street Tier 1 and the Tier 2 categories. And also on top of that, I am going to be on Chevrolet only because, it's a Camaro. But for this though, guys, you're then going to notice it is going to be a Street Tier 2 vehicle. So that right off the bat is going to be pretty interesting. Moving over to the other one though, guys, the other Z28 is going to be a Tier 1. So right off the bat there, you're going to notice, yeah, this thing's going to be slower. And not only that though, when customizing this vehicle, you can't make this thing look anything like the other one. Like, not even kidding, it can't even get close to how that one looks with the body kit. We have, that one. And also for the rims though, you have to have that really annoying looking like chrome type of finish, and you also cannot get them to look anything like that one either. So I would say in some ways, if you did actually want to grind out the other Z28, I do feel like a lot of players are going to be happy they did so. The regular Z28 is not only going to look nothing like that one, it's also immediately going to be slower because it is going to be a Tier 1 vehicle. Now, don't get me wrong, though, I do understand why some players might end up going, yeah, I'm not going to grind for that Z28 because the other car can look just like it. But when looking at this one, though, you really can't see how unique the Z28 does look. And it's kind of insane it is going to be a Tier 2 vehicle. So it is, of course, going to be much faster than the regular Z28 here in the Tier 1 category. Like, we do know a lot of them probably have like a wide body kit, but look at the interior in this car, guys. It has like the really nice stitching, and you can also see some pieces of like carbon and stuff like that around it. And it's going to hold like that classic look to the vehicle on top of it being a Z28. I also want to know what you guys think. Would you actually like to see old cars return with something like a newer interior? And then we have seen this before. I think it's like a resto mod or something like that, to where they're pretty much going to have like an older Chevelle SS with like a new interior. I would say in some ways that's probably going to be a pretty awesome way to bring like the old cars back. And we do know they're all probably going to have like a special place in many people's hearts. But looking at the Z28 right now, guys, it is going to be a beautiful car. I absolutely love this purple. And for some odd reason, I was kind of mixed on like the gold when looking at it in that photo. But my goodness, though, seeing this thing in the light of Motorfest is absolutely beautiful. And on top of that, it sounds pretty dang good. I think we can all agree that's probably going to be one of the best sounding V8s in this entire game. Like, my goodness, the rumbling sound of this Z28 is absolutely insane. So driving this car, I did notice for one reason, though, it is going to feel like it is a wide body kit. I did notice back in the Crew 2 on some vehicles that having a wide body kitted vehicle did actually seem to make them slightly faster, at least handle a bit better. But that can honestly be my mind probably playing tricks on me. But who knows, though, I would say the Z28 is probably going to be better easily compared to the regular Street Tier 1. Now, I do know some people might be like, well, you know what, Blocked, I didn't get this car because, the other one's probably going to be too similar to that vehicle. Like, why don't I just build that one, and why even bother going after the Summit one? So not only is the Summit one going to look way better than the regular Z28, it is also going to be a street tier 2 vehicle compared to a tier 1. So the tier 1 vehicles only do around 190 miles an hour, whereas the tier 2 can hit around 230 plus miles an hour. So you can easily run this thing on basically any of the summits, or at least race this thing around. But it's also going to be a tier 2 vehicle instead of a tier 1. So in the same aspect, you'll not only be faster in the events, but you're also going to be in a different tiered vehicle, so you could run this in like grand races, or like, at least feel a bit faster driving something like a muscle car. Now, I don't know if this one's going to be upgraded or something like that, like compared to that one. I would say the engine alone is probably going to sound absolutely insane. But overall, though, I would say a lot of players are easily going to love the way the Z28 Hoonigan ED is. Now, I do know a lot of players might not want to go after different summit cars unless it's like a Bugatti, or like, some crazy looking hypercar for that matter. But I would definitely keep an eye out for future vehicles like the Hoonigan ED here. And the reason I do mention that, though, is we might end up seeing different cars from Tier 1 end up being upgraded into Tier 2, and even other classes showing up in different ones. Now, when jumping into a race with the Z28 here, I of course had to do this on level 5 to mess with the AI a bit, but I also do want to see how the Z28 is going to compare to the level 5 AI. We all do know sometimes they honestly cannot drive, or at least they drive way too quick. So I was like, you know what, let's see what this muscle car can actually do against them. Now, I would admit right now, the Z28, I was kind of surprised seeing this thing being in a Tier 2 class, though. Like, we all know the regular car is a Tier 1, so I was like, wait a minute. This thing is going to be a Tier 2, which instantly, oh my goodness, my brakes are not working today. That was not what I had in mind. But I would admit, though, driving this car in Tier 2, you can definitely tell it is going to be faster. When using it in the Summit, when I was testing it out there, I was like, yeah, this thing does seem to be quicker. But I wouldn't say it's going to be breaking records, or like, most likely be beating some of the better Tier 2 vehicles. But on the same side of that, though, I would admit you can most likely go against most of the better Tier 2 cars with this one, even though you are most likely not going to be breaking records, or like, probably setting the best times you possibly can in like a Summit, or even something like a grand race, because it's not going to be as quick. But I would admit, though, even though it is not going to be as quick, my goodness, this thing is honestly insanely fun to race. And I would say even in first-person mode, you're going to be in for a treat. Like, look at the view of this thing. I really do like the steering wheel being like the Chevrolet sign there. It almost looks more modern. And you can see like the dials and stuff like that as well, so it does look great. Now, the one thing I did notice about this car, though, is if you are looking to race this thing against like a Huracan, that is probably going to be a pretty interesting race, because we all do know that thing currently is probably going to be one of the quote-unquote meta vehicles, and I would almost guarantee the Z28 here is not going to be able to race it, or at least I guess you could say probably keep up with that thing in like an event, even though pretty much every single Street Tier 2 vehicle has the exact same top speed. Now, earlier I did end up mentioning that, yeah, you probably will want to be a bit more careful, because the brakes on this car are not going to be like a racing Ferrari, or at least something like a better Tier 2 vehicle, but running something like manual, though, I did notice it actually makes it a bit better, and I would say probably running manual is like one of the better ways to slow down with some of these cars, especially something like this, and of course Dominic Toretto is beating me in an NSX. I really do find it kind of weird how some vehicles are not quick in the Tier 2 category. Meanwhile, other ones, like racing against the AI, you do seem to be a bit quicker than them. And then for some odd reason, sometimes you're not going to be any faster. I really do not know why that actually is, but if I can at least get a podium finish right now, I would honestly be pretty dang happy. So let's see if I can do that. Coming for you, Don. I'm going to pass you right on the last of this. Just like a Fast and Furious movie. Oh no! I failed! Well, can I at least get a podium? I at least got a podium in second place, even though I completely spun out. Let's go work on the pro settings a bit and take this thing on a final drive. I would actually say my final thoughts on the Z28 are going to be the fact that if you are looking for a pretty unique Summit vehicle that's not going to be what you expected, this is easily going to be the car I would definitely recommend trying out if you did get it. Not going to lie, guys, when I first saw this car, I was like, yeah, that thing's probably not going to be that good. But my goodness, though, driving this thing maxed out with a Nitro Chem set in pro settings, it is so much dang fun to actually use. Plus, it's going to be a Tier 2 instead of a Tier 1 again. So at least we are going to have an upgraded version of the regular Z28. I would like to know what you guys think about this car in the comments below. And overall, I would give this thing a 10.